Ken, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Great to be back. And everything you've said hits home here in Texas, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, Texas is at a boiling point for all of this. It's like Texas. I'll be there the end of the week, but it's unrecognizable driving around from somebody who grew up in Texas, somebody who knows Texas well. How do you stop the subversion of what it looks like and feels like to be a Texan?
Yeah, I think it's the education. I don't think Texas is where people want it to be, the left. And this guy that's running is everything you described. He's a left-wing Democratic socialist. He's in line with AOC. He is that guy. And he uses the same language that you're talking about. He calls us Christian nationalists, and he rails really against everything that we believe in, but he's not doing that now. And as he's running in a general election, he knows that his views, if uncovered and if exposed, will not allow him to win this election. He's polled it, I polled it. So he's running as a moderate Democrat, but that's not what he's done for the last 10 years in office. That's not what he said in interviews. Whatever the topic is, the transgender, all the things that Chinese want to do, he voted against any bill that would have stopped the Chinese from owning land in Texas. He pushed the transgender movement. He pushed the boys and girls sports movement. He fought for higher taxes on us, state income tax. I mean, he fought to get rid of prisons. I mean, this guy and he voted against every single bill related to protecting our border. So this guy is AOC incarnate, and that's what we're dealing with in Texas. And he's because people don't know, and they're not aware of his positions, and the media is not going to talk about it. That's got to be my job: raise the money and expose his views.
Okay, so how is that going? I mean, it seems like such a slam dunk, but it's a tough environment out there right now because. Please.
Yeah, no, it's a tough environment. Midterm election, difficult for the party in power, but we also had a structural disadvantage in that the legislature a few years ago created a 3-month runoff instead of a 4-week runoff, which sounded like a good idea to help the military, but it really has hurt anybody that has a runoff. So my opponent had 3 extra months during prime fundraising season to go out and raise $30 million, mostly from California, or at least a high percentage of it from California, maybe up to half. And that was like 30 million. I was out spending money. And so when June 1st rolled around, right after my runoff, I was at $0. He was at, he just raised $30 million. So he could start spending in July, whereas I'm still trying to accumulate and waiting for more help to come in. And I'm telling you the truth. I have no doubt if we can expose him with the right messages about what he believes, he won't win Texas. But if we don't take advantage of that and we don't have the opportunity to expose it, then he's got a chance.
You see the number of people that vote against Sharia law in Texas, that vote against the Islamization of Texas, that show up at these city halls and that demand that they stop building these super centers and these super mosques and stuff. And I think McKinney was one of the more recent news. I think it'd be pretty obvious to expose Tallarico for his heterical and blasphemous views on Christianity. Because obviously Texas is still very much Christian. There's still Christ in the hearts of people in Texas. Some of the biggest churches in the world are in Texas. How do you plan on telling the story about James Tallarico and his very perverse views on Christendom?
Yeah, I think that's another message. It's one of the 6 or 7 main themes, whether it's the border law, his hatred of law enforcement. This is one of the things, his hatred of Christianity. He said, I am a Christian, but I hate Christianity. He comes up with the most insane views of abortion and how Mary consented to basically having Jesus. Therefore, abortions, late-term abortions should be allowed biblically. He talks about being, you can't be a Christian and support the oil and gas industry. He talks about, we put the 10 commandments, the legislature put the 10 commandments in all of our schools. He called that idolatrous and deeply unchristian. And these are the types of things that James Tallarico believes in his soul and his heart, but he's certainly not running on those now. And those are, again, it's up to us to raise the money and get the message out, because the mainstream media, you're doing a great job, but the mainstream media clearly doesn't want this exposed. They don't want to talk about his record. They don't talk about his record. They focus on attacking me. That's just the way the mainstream media is. The fake, as Donald Trump calls it, the fake media.
We've seen some pretty disturbing signs in Texas, and obviously some major changes and some breaks in Texas culture. And it's been tough to watch. And the people of Texas are crying out to make Texas Texas again. How are you going to do that as a senator? I know that you guys just passed a SB 4, I think, that allows for Texas to actually do internal immigration enforcement and deport your own criminal aliens, which I think is, of course, something that every state should have.
Absolutely, we should have it. Especially when the federal government doesn't do their job. When under Joe Biden, clearly inviting people into our state, and we were the main, unfortunately, source of immigrants coming through our 1,265 miles of border. So yes, we have a right to defend our own state. If the federal government is not going to do it, I can guarantee you that the founders the states that created this country and created the Constitution, they never envisioned that the federal government would just back off of its duty to defend a state and say, well, you can't do anything about it because we created laws that say we defend it, and now we're not going to, but because we made the laws and we're not going to, now you can't. That never would have flown. And so I've never bought into this idea that we can't defend ourselves if our federal government fails to do that, which they absolutely did for 4 years of Joe Biden.
So what are you going to do in the United States Senate to ensure that Texas will remain sovereign? I mean, everybody is watching what's happening in Ceuta right now. And while it's horrifying to see what an open border looks like and how quickly this little Spanish enclave becomes the third world, that is precisely what happened to the Rio Grande Valley. That is exactly what happened to Texas.
Yeah, I think pushing policies and pushing laws that protect states' rights, protect our own sovereignty. Look, this is a government that was a country that was formed by the states. They created the federal government. They gave them limited powers, and everything else was left to the states. And so there's been this push, for a couple hundred years now, especially in the last 75 to 100 years, to move everything away from the states to the federal government. And that's just not the way we were set up. And that's something that I will fight for. And I have, as Texas Attorney General, I mean, that has been much of my theme through my 11 and a half years in office as Attorney General, is to fight for state rights, to push back and to say, hey, the 10th Amendment really does matter.
So maybe you can, expound on that, and because obviously there's major Islamization and then major also H-1B fraud that's happening throughout Texas. It's like communities becoming totally unrecognizable, and a lot of people get sort of alarmed at watching the number of mosques that are being built in some of these, larger, Muslim super cities that seem to be completely off the grid. It seems like Texas is being colonized. Do you view it that way? Again, how do you keep Texas Texas?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the federal side, those H-1B visas have been abused, and we obviously have no control over that, other than I've sued several companies for committing fraud as it relates. So I can sue over fraud. I just can't sue over the actual federal program. So we're doing what we can on the federal level. I mean, I'll be asking questions, the first day I get there about these things and why they're being abused, and reining them in so that we don't have this tremendous abuse, because I think it's had a big impact on Texas, and it's had a big impact on the country. And we want to make sure that this country is protected. We don't want to become Western Europe. We don't want Sharia law to control our laws. That's basically been the idea in Western Europe. And certainly that's something we're going to fight here in Texas. And I've been fighting that since we sort of uncovered this happening. So we will not let it happen in Texas, at least not. I will not let it happen. We will all fight together. I do not believe that they will take over Texas. I'm very optimistic about our ability to fight back. The rest of the nation, I don't know, but at least Texas.
Well, it's good to hear somebody talk like that. I mean, you defeated John Cornyn, and I don't want to do sour grapes here, right? Obviously, be a gracious winner, and be a gracious loser as well. But John Cornyn released an ad where he was talking about how much amnesty he needs to give everyone. Do you obviously don't agree with that. The amnesty would, of course, allow people to vote illegally in the country, and that's happening. It's happening in Texas, no doubt. Like, it's happening everywhere, right? It's happening in blue states. And that's not a knock. It's just, I think, really hard to catch. And so you defeated John Cornyn, and mainly because people couldn't believe it, that he wanted amnesty for illegals to reward people that come here illegally. It's the math. Oh, my God. Dude, bro, that's very impressive. That's sending a message, right? That we want the SAVE Act, we want the Senate, we want a senator that actually represents us. Can you crystallize, now that we're a couple of months out of this primary, can you crystallize for us, what is it that you are going to do in DC that's going to be so radically different? Clearly your state wants different.
Well, you'll notice that, Matt, by the way, I did lose 2 counties out of 254, and one of them was Travis County, Austin. Not shocking. And I lost one other county by, it was the widest margin of victory for Cornyn. I lost 75-25, but I lost, if 3 people would have changed their vote, I would have won. So those are the 2 counties.
You can see it right there. Yeah. Okay. So it's 6-2. That's right.
So, see, I just needed 3 people to change their votes, and I would have won it. And
dude, you could have that would have been the easiest door knock ever.
If I just would have known, right? So it's kind of funny. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a very different vision. The first thing and the most important thing to me is the Save America Act. And I don't just say that. I've been fighting voter fraud in Texas for most of my time as Attorney General. It's a real problem here, and it's a real problem in the country. I fought off the whole mail-in ballot scheme where they tried in all these liberal counties during COVID to mail out ballots to everybody, and we were in major litigation, which we were at a disadvantage in liberal courts. And we had liberal courts of appeals that were trying to hold us up, and we had to basically find a way around them because we couldn't get a ruling in time before the election. They were going to mail them out anyway. So once they were out, the genie was out of the bottle. So if we don't fix our federal elections, if we don't require photo ID, if we don't require that the voter rolls be purged of non-citizens and dead people, and we don't fix this mail-in ballot fraud, which is massive, it's the easiest way to cheat because you can mail them out to anybody. No one knows whose turn. Then they tell you, well, you can't prove voter fraud. Well, the reality is they're right because of the way they've done it. They set it up that way. So I am convinced that if we don't fix that, nothing else that I say is going to matter. We're not going to fix the budget. We're not going to fix healthcare. We're not going to deal with China. We're not going to deal with, the judiciary and making sure that we have great. We're not going to have that opportunity because once they rig a few more elections, and let me tell you, I truly believe elections are being stolen every election in most of the Democratic states, if not all. And that's the design. They get a few more states. And then we'll never be able to pass the Save America Act, and then it is over. We won't be able to have fair elections. And we'll all know it. They'll try to tell us it's not true, but we will know in our hearts that this is not going the way it should.
You've seen this from the inside as the Attorney General. How do you think they steal elections in these states? Obviously, everyone was kind of amazed at the results with Francesca Hong in Wisconsin, right? Like, classic late night. The flash drives don't work. We just lost all the votes. Too bad. The person who was down by 30 points the day before the election, now he's your governor's candidate. Like, they kind of turned the machine on her, right? It's amazing.
Yep. Well, look, there's lots of ways they cheat, but it's usually in these big Democratic counties where they can hide votes, and they do it all kinds of different ways. But the easiest way to do it is just mail out ballots to everybody, and then go, if you're the election administrator, you know where those ballots went, and just have people go collect them, and they sign them, they vote for them. We have no way to prove that the person that sent in a mail-in ballot that was just randomly sent out to everybody, we have no way to prove that person actually voted. So that's the easiest way. But there's certainly they're very creative in how they do this, and just like you said, we had a Chinese spy who was voting, and that has been a plan. We went after a birthing center here in Houston, suing them, and we found out really through AI. We went to China basically with our AI, and we figured out that they were advertising to have births in Texas, and so we've sued them to stop them from lying to the public. I'm limited to suing under kind of fraudulent sort of statute, so I have to do what I can. But they're clearly doing that all over the country, and they've been doing it, as you said, for almost 2 decades, and it's going to come back to haunt us.
That's crazy. So you found advertisements for Chinese birth tourism right across the river from Mexico and Texas to go.
Yeah, it was in Houston. This birthing center was in Houston. They've been running it for, like you said, almost 20 years. I think it was right around 18 years. And I didn't know about it. The only reason we found it is we were using AI, because I don't have a Mandarin Chinese speaker. I don't have a Mandarin speaker in my office. So we used AI to interpret these ads, and we figured out that what they were doing.
Oh, it's utterly chilling. There's so many sequential problems on so many fronts. It's hard to actually pin them all down. I did want to ask you a quick question about Dr. Fauci. A lot of state AGs are saying we should get together and sue him. What's your take on that strategy in order to get around the federal pardon?
I like the strategy. I really do. I think if unfortunately in Texas, I have begged the legislature to give the Attorney General original jurisdiction for criminal cases. The only thing I've gotten back, I've been able to do voter fraud. I've gotten human trafficking. It took me years to get it. And we do any kind of abortion. But other than that, like, I can't bring a case like that. It would be up to a local district attorney, which we have in each county. Many of those are controlled by George Soros. So unfortunately in Texas, it's one of the worst problems we have. The Attorney General should, and I'm leaving, the next Attorney General should have the authority, if DAs are not going to prosecute crimes, which they don't in many of our big cities, about 70% of the population controlled by a George Soros elected DA. If they're not going to prosecute crimes, the legislature should give a backup, like they do in other states, concurrent jurisdiction, so that AG can go prosecute when we have district attorneys who refuse to prosecute crimes every day.
Man, that's exactly right. It's like the damage that's been done by these Soros attorneys. DeSantis ripped the guy out. He was in Tampa. He oversaw Tampa, and there was a George Soros attorney that was running this place, and he wouldn't enforce state laws, and he had to be removed. He was removed by the governor.
I wish we could do that. I mean, we are
thrown in the trash.
We are in a situation that the legislature could easily fix. All they have to do, and I'm still begging them to do this as I leave, give original jurisdiction, concurrent. So if the district attorney wants to prosecute something, fine. But if they're not going to do it, or they're committing a crime right now, if they're committing crimes, who's going to prosecute them? No one has the authority to do it. So if you're a district attorney in Texas, you can allow your friends to commit crimes, and you can commit crimes yourself. It's very difficult to do anything about it because we don't really have accountability for district attorneys. And look, I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying we do have some major problems because our major population centers are controlled by district attorneys that George Soros elected, and there's no dispute about that.
Yes. Why do we allow a foreign-born billionaire who has no allegiance to America whatsoever and who has the shadiest past you could possibly imagine? Why do we allow him to control so much of the election? There has to be some type of criminality to what's going on. I guess he is being investigated right now. There was a little blip about that, but I haven't seen anything since. Do you think that George Soros should be fully investigated? Would you do that in the Senate?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to ask. I can't do it as Attorney General because I don't have the authority to do it under our laws. That's another thing. I'd love to have had the opportunity to go find out what this guy's doing, because he's definitely influencing our elections in Texas big time, and in a very crucial place. Criminal law is a crossroads of politics these days. They use these DAs to go after people like me and Donald Trump and others who are causing trouble for their radical socialist agenda.
Wow. So in the Senate, you'll have subpoena power. I mean, in the Senate, you don't have to worry about this, right? Your hands will not be tied if you're on the right committee, and you can oversee these things. And there's nothing more important than like getting foreign money out of our elections. There's also a guy from China named Neville Singham, who's a left-wing communist billionaire who's doing this kind of stuff. But George Soros is still king of the castle. So you're committing to
absolutely
fighting.
And
George
I want
Soros
to find out about ActBlue too. I've tried to sue them. I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with them. I encourage the Department of Justice to go after them as well, because I know that they're violating federal law. I know that they're violating our laws, and that they are hiding this. That the foreign money is flowing through to the Democrats, and of course, Democrats love it. They don't care about laws as long as they have power. So, and they don't follow the laws. So they have definitely hidden billions of dollars coming in from overseas through Act Blue. And we have so far, well, I'm in a big fight. I've got this Massachusetts court that stepped in to try to block my case in Texas that relates to Texas law. So, we're in that little battle, and it's taken a while, but I hope, I may not be able to finish by the time I'm out, but I hope that the next attorney general will finish this case and find out what's going on with Act Blue. And as soon as I get to the Senate, they're going to be on my radar screen as well to find out, because my opponent is raising unbelievable amount of money from Act Blue, and no Republican has the ability to do that. So where is this money coming from? We don't know.
I know that we're up against a hard out, and I really look forward to you having. It's amazing how you getting to the Senate, how effective you would actually be, because you wouldn't have these constraints that limit you on a state level. You'd be able to use federal power, and we've seen how effective that is. Frankly, with Rand Paul is a great example of this. Ron Johnson. When senators are willing to actually use their power, you can do some major good. Chuck Grassley's done some incredible work in oversight. But I wanted to ask you about one more local thing that I just was amazed at. It's a beautiful story, a chilling story, an unbelievable story, but like a beautiful one. It was McKenna West, an Alaskan surrogate pregnancy, and she had this pregnancy. She was being paid by a California couple. The child was diagnosed with a heart defect, and you gave her refuge in Texas. The parents wanted her to abort the child, and this is now like a huge story. And you're saving this baby's life. You actually say you literally saved this child's life. She's had the baby now, right? And Texas has given her sanctuary and refuge against people that wanted to murder her baby. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yep. She came to Texas, and we intervened in her case. They were trying to force her to leave the state and have an abortion. And we stepped in and got a court order blocking her. And then we got a court order requiring that the baby be treated, life-saving treatment be done. So that baby had surgery yesterday, the first surgery of 3 on his heart. And as far as I know, it went well. So yeah, that baby is alive today because we stepped in and we said, this is not good. We're not going to let this baby get taken away to be, torn limb from limb after it's been chemically killed. We're not going to let it happen. So I'm really grateful. Things like that, you really feel like you're making a difference when you can actually save, whose life you saved.
Yeah. It's stunning. I think it was a California couple, and the woman was from Alaska, and she wasn't going to be able to help it, and they were demanding. It's a real morally blurry line with surrogacy, frankly, right? And
yep.
That's why a lot of people have a lot of problems with surrogacy. But man, your state intervention, there is no other way to describe it. Your state intervention saved this child's life.
Yeah, and we're hopeful. He's got 2 more surgeries, one in about 4 to 6 months, another one 18 to 5 years. So, obviously we're going to try to figure out how to help that baby survive. But I am grateful that, at least we've got a baby that's alive and in good health. And of course, if I was the parents, I wouldn't want to have to tell that story someday when that child figures out from internet stories that the parents were trying to eliminate him.
It's so awful. It's so grotesque. It is the way that we treat children in this country. It's so bad. Maybe just a parting. I'm just doing this because of my wife, actually. Parting message to Maha. I mean, you've been such a fighter on this. She tells me every night at dinner, it's like he's the one guy who's actually fulfilling the Maha promise to fight these companies that are poisoning us. I guess it's kind of in line with the story, saving children.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. We've done so many things, whether it's with dyes in cereals, whether it's with fluoride, whether it's with these PFAS stuff, and we've got an alignment. I had a little conference in my office with about 18 influencers that are dealing with different parts of Maha, and we're going to be working more with them, not just now, but when I go into the Senate. So it's funny. Your wife brought this. How I find out about this stuff. I have 3 daughters that talk to me almost every day about some issue related to health, and so I've learned a lot from them. And that's been a big part of my motivation. They've taught me. And so I've connected to some of these influencers because of my daughters, 3 of my daughters, who just really encouraged me to go that direction. And it's been very satisfying because we've gotten some changes, some major changes that will affect the health of children and adults. So I'm excited about it.
Using government for good. A lot of reasons to vote for Ken Paxton. We've been on the Ken Paxton train for quite a while. And yeah, ever since John Cornyn attacked us on social media. Not a great plan, honestly. Attacking your own side in the Biden era. Yeah, make sure you keep your friends close, right? And Ken Paxton is a friend.
And next time, can we go to Kennedy County together and we'll get those 3 votes?
Let's go.
You'll knock a door, I'll knock a door.
I'll be in Dallas. I'll be in Dallas this weekend, so I hope that we can connect. I hope that there's a way that, you know, we'll check the campaign schedule, but it'd be great. We were on stage in Baylor. We were on stage in Baylor a couple months ago, and let's do it again. Let's run it back. Everybody vote for Ken Paxton. He's got hundreds of thousands, 500, nearly 600,000 subscribers here on X. Follow him and fight with those who are fighting for us. The biggest and most important fight, I think, is going to be for Texas in the future. So please support Ken Paxton.
Hey, KenPaxton.com. Go on and help us. We need the help.
There it is. Thank you, Ken. Godspeed.
Godspeed. Thank you.